Welcome to The Human Code, the podcast where technology meets humanity, and the future is shaped by the leaders and innovators of today. I'm your host, Don Finley, inviting you on a journey through the fascinating world of tech, leadership, and personal growth. Here, we delve into the stories of visionary minds who are not only driving technological advancement, but also embodying the personal journeys and insights that inspire us all. Each episode, we explore the intersections where human ingenuity meets the cutting edge of technology, unpacking the experiences, challenges, and triumphs that define our era. So, whether you're a tech enthusiast, an inspiring entrepreneur, or simply curious about the human narratives behind the digital revolution, you're in the right place. Welcome to The Human Code. In this episode, we're excited to welcome Christopher Young, an innovative entrepreneur with a tenacity for solving problems through technology. Christopher founded Async Interview, significantly reducing employees' time to hire, and later joined GoPuff, where he played a pivotal role in the company's massive growth. Currently, as an operating partner at Mach 49, Christopher leads ventures from zero to their first fundraise. Today, Christopher will share how AI can enhance human conversations by creating synthetic personas and refining communication strategies. The way AI is revolutionizing market research and venture building, making early stage development more efficient. Insights into balancing novelty and efficiency in AI applications and the importance of maintaining a human touch in the innovation process. Join us as we dive into these thought-provoking topics with Christopher Young. This episode is packed with practical insights and strategies for anyone interested in the future of technology and entrepreneurship. You won't want to miss it. I'm here with Chris Young. He's with Mach 49, an entrepreneur, startups, AI. Like, this guy's got the passion for all the things that I'm passionate about. So I'm really excited for the two of us to be here today. And Chris, I'm just going to kick it off. One, thank you for showing up today. Thank you for being here with us. And what got you excited about humanity and technology? What's your story?
Yeah, I think it started early on, which we can go into my first startup. But I think in my current role, I really enjoy the fact that we're hearing straight from what will be future customers when we're building new ventures. The ability to really hear out people's pains and sit down with them, sit at their desk, understand what's going on, try to put ourselves in that hat that they wear every day and learn what challenges they're facing. And that's the fun part for me about kind of identifying problems that we might be able to solve.
Nice. So where do you see that connection point between what technology is able to do for people today and the pain points that people are talking about in this moment?
Yeah, it's fantastic, but it's also tricky. You've got a lot of technologies, particularly with some of the AI pieces that may be seen or some may see as an opportunity to replace. And I think it's a great way to augment. So a perfect example of one of the areas that I really like to leverage some technology to aid in my human conversations, leveraging some of the AI to portray or create like a synthetic persona of an individual or individuals to better understand what would I ask them and how would they respond so that I can clean up how I might actually speak to them. So as we're having a conversation, if you created a synthetic persona of me and ran some information based on the public information you could get, would that help inform you have a better conversation with me? And that's how I use it. You don't get a lot at bats with different stakeholders that are willing to donate their time and really let you into their job and help understand what's your challenge. So you don't get a lot of that back. Then you really need to be ready when you get maybe a half an hour with some of these folks. Some could be senior levels, some could be line level. And it really becomes how important can you extract and get the right information and get past tell me about your job, because those are not questions that are going to yield a venture.
I'm laughing because I've been in both sides of the equation. I've been that busy executive that kind of, hey, like, I got a half an hour. This is what we're going to be talking about. And this is what we have to get done. And you want to start out talking about my job? Yeah. But then also on the same token, I've been in that service role of asking the customer, hey, what's going on in your life? Tell me about the pain point that I may not know about. And I love that you're using
the perfect balance. Because if you come in and you say, tell me about your job, the reason that we as people talking to them or interviewing them, so to speak, is to get them talking. That's the whole point of that question. But it's a terrible question because you should have been able to do some of your homework on that. And so you dive into the content because you may only have a half an hour executive based on some of the homework you did, but also the way that gets them talking, because that is the goal of kind of opening up the conversation. these early stakeholders that you might be doing some human research around the challenges they may face in this space.
It's incredible. So you go around and you're creating this persona in an LLM, like ChatGPT or something like that, and saying, hey, I need you to pretend like you're Elon Musk. And I need you to pretend like you're the CEO of Tesla, that you have these things going on. Here's what you've publicly stated as your mission and the vision that you have going out. Like, describe what your pain points likely would be.
Correct. Yeah, I have a full script that I'm asking that persona as if it were the human sitting on the other end. And then you're starting to learn this question doesn't really yield what I thought it would in my head. This question does, or this, then I'm going to spin this into that. Imagine just getting like a ton of feedback on an interview script that you were going to take to interview 10 different stakeholders to learn about their pains. And you could refine and practice and get like valid responses or validated responses so that you can refine that script. So that when you actually talk to a human, you're extraordinarily efficient with what you're trying to learn. And that's one of the areas that I like using it for. It's augmenting our actual practice of interviewing a stakeholder without actually replacing it.
I love this use case because, like you just said, it is augmenting. And that's one of the areas that we talk about using AI is you're not replacing anything or you're not doing anything new, but this is that practice that we may have done in the past of practicing a presentation, practice interviews. But now you've got something that is like instantaneously available for you to be adopting your interview process. I love that. Where else have you augmented your world in that regard?
I do find a lot of it's helpful for some of your basic research, market analysis research, things like that. I don't think that's particularly sexy use cases of technology, but it does work in the modern day Google searching. Other areas are around early positioning and messaging of some of the solution ideas that we put forth. So when we're building ventures, we talked a little bit about talking to stakeholders, identifying pains and challenges. The next step in the way that we would build a venture is present them with potential value propositions in whatever form they take. It could be just statements, that could be in the form of an ad, it could be in the form of a little bit of a story. But obviously, generative AI help generate those ideas or refine them quite well. I think we use it more for refinement, and I use it in particular for messaging. I actually think it's pretty bad at novel ideas around a particular pain. So great for kind of ideation creativity, but not so great when you're trying to problem solve a venture and come up with some ideas there. So I use it more for refinement, or how would we apply these kind of technologies, this pain, to this space or this stakeholder in particular.
I think you are hitting on a key point as well. Like the current state of the technology is good at refinement. Novel ideas, not so much. And even when we talk about like, when you see it in the news for novel ideas, it's because it basically threw everything against the wall in making an attempt to go there. And I'm specifically referring to, I think it was protein folding material sciences was the thing. And it was like, yeah, it generated like 3 million new materials. And it just tried a lot of stuff. And you could brute force your way through that. And it does it intelligently. And at the same time, the novelty of it is because of the vastness.
Yeah, I think so. And if you're looking to use some sort of technology or particularly AI to come up with the next business idea, I think you're probably going to be disappointed in the outcome. We always say a lot of the solution ideas that we get out of it, we stay in the middle of the spectrum. It's not really forcing it to the edges of creativity, but also for us, you're often entering, it's not as simple as just what's the magic idea. I think that's a big thing in entrepreneurship outside of AI. Everyone just thinks it's a brilliant idea. And in many ways, it's more, what's your kind of angle in? The idea exists in some shape or form. Do you have some sort of advantage, whether it's your relationships or it's just like a really complex solution that you need to grind out? And we take that stuff for granted, especially now with some of these tools. We think, when we just pump this into the chatbot, and suddenly I'll get $1 million venture only off that.
And I like that. Have you been able to use AI in ways that are bringing you closer to your clients or closer to the relationships or?
Yeah, I certainly believe that the first example I shared, right, helps make the conversation more fruitful with the individuals that we're talking to. I think we're getting a little bit better later in kind of the early stages of the venture really with regard to outreach and using messaging and some of the tweaks and personalization we can do to really get more potential people that are interested, because we're messaging it and framing it in a way that might be interesting to them. And that's still got a lot of legs to improve that. But it's really quite helpful that we can position what we want to do, how we want to reach out to them, get their perspective, again, through some public profile, and have that framed in a way that maybe would resonate a little better with them.
And I can agree with you. I like it for opening doors. We run a variety test of how we can reach out to people using AI and basically combining what's your public persona, what do we know about you, what is the message that we're trying to deliver as well, what is either the product we want to talk about or the call to action. And we're seeing honestly good results from it because it is capable enough of starting a conversation, and then it is getting better at actually both responding to and keeping a conversation directed. I think one of the areas that I personally am excited about is we all have a passion, we all have a vision that we want to bring to the table as individuals. And as AI can take some of those things either off of our plate or like the augmentation of, hey, we're doing this, help me become better at it myself.
Yeah, that's my number one. My number one use of AI is a sounding board.
Yeah.
It really, in all shapes and sizes, like I use it for helping me solve some things in writing code that I don't know, or debugging some errors that I run into, just frequent. To, hey, this is how I'm framing a message or an email. I'm just, what are some alternatives?
All right. So there's a lot to cover in the entrepreneurial journey of creating a venture. So we've gotten to talk to the user. We've enhanced that process of basically ensuring that we're valuing their time. And additionally, we're becoming better interviewers as well through this process. Communication is easier. You just talked about the one of using it as a coding assistant, using it as a debugger. All right. So we've covered.
No, I'll give you another good one that we use it for. So we talked to these individuals. We talked about teeing up the conversations because, and this is maybe a little bit more unique to Lockwood, because we have a little bit larger team than your traditional 3 or 4 person startup. We tend to have maybe 6 or 7 individuals. Now, you're trying to make sure the whole team is learning, right, from these interviews, right? It's the most important thing. You're surrounding these humans, learning from what their challenges are or how they're reacting to value propositions or solutions. That's the most important thing. Having 8 people live was very time consuming when you're trying to move the venture in many different directions. Who's the competitors, what experts we want to talk to. Everybody's got a lot of things. You record these, and we've been using a lot of technologies to turn the recordings into transcripts. That's not novel. What is novel is we use it for synthesis quite a bit. So you take all of these interviews that we're doing, all of these transcripts that you're doing, and how do you quickly make sense of it? This is often a process that we would do as humans. We'd spend a couple hours every couple of weeks, and we would do this. And that is pretty close to being automated. To put the initial perspective, I might have attended 30%, that my colleague might have attended another 30%. So we're still attending and joining some of them or listening to the recordings, but not dealing with the whole 100%, being able to have this synthesis kind of set the perspective, and then we agree or disagree or alter that. That's more of an efficiency time saver.
I do enjoy that. We're actually along the same lines. We take our discovery calls and we use the transcription from that and AI to help us to ensure that the proposal that we're writing is both meeting the needs of the client, but then also the AI is helping us in writing components, because you only want so much novel creations when you're doing like new software development. And especially in startups, I like to say, or there's probably somebody else who's smarter than me said it, that you only want so many miracles that need to happen for your startup to succeed.
Someone just wrote an article about it. Like, most startups really only need to unlock one big and prove that it's valid. Like big. I wish I could remember who. It might have been first round.
I'm going to give you, I'll give you credit for it for the time being.
It was very good. It was like, if you're an investor in a startup, what's the biggest hypothesis they have baked in the business? And if they unlock that, do they unlock the market for them?
And that's the incredible thing. And I think the cases that we've talked about today around what you're doing, what we're doing for augmenting our processes and helping to free up that basically that human creativity Because no matter what, if you're a startup of 2 people or 7 people, who, like, however the size is, you have a limited capacity and you're likely going after a total market in the billions, in which you do have competitors who their resources are going to be vastly greater than yours. And if they wanted to and they had the focus in your early stage, could tackle you. But I think with AI, it's not a leveling of the field, but it's allowing you to operate at so much faster of a pace that it's going to be hard to keep up with any focused team.
Yeah. I think the other thing that we've learned, because Muffrey and I primarily work with corporates, is that we have a stronger appreciation for that human element, right? You see some of these corporations don't talk to their customers. They don't. If they want to enter $1 billion space, they make assumptions. Or there's just that reluctance to do some of that work. Some of the technologies and tools talked about, your approaches, make it easier to do that. But I think that's a big differentiator in terms of why we're able to get going into these big markets, is making sure we understand the nuance behind that pain.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there a place in your process, in your journey through like creating startups and being an entrepreneur, in which you're really excited for the tech to develop? And what are pain points that you want to see solved?
Image creation is still, for me, more artistic than productive for my use cases. So imagining being able to have slide decks generated, terrible at that, or even just business diagrams. Some of that's to articulate what you're trying to do today, even though you may not have the artistic abilities to do it. And that's a different form than some of the image creation today. And I know we talked a lot about Gen AI, traditional AI, but I actually think the image piece is another opportunity to help a startup move. If you think about what are the skill sets, you have your ability to connect with individuals, stakeholders, can synthesize them, identify pains, make decisions, generate some early concepts, which you can do with plenty of tools. And then you get to some of your solution for some wireframing, things like that. Then you start to get into marketing material. And that's typically where we see the skill sets don't exist. And so you have to hire outside or bring on outside. And sure, it costs money for a startup. It also slows you down because you have to bring somebody else in and kind of get usually throwing it over the fence and come back. And so I just think of that as a big opportunity to keep the momentum.
That's a really good point. I know when I first sat down with ChatGPT, we were redesigning parts of our website. And the ability for us to bring more of that stuff in-house around our copywriting, around like how we were saying messages, just even allowing us to make vast revisions to what was already there. The speed and that ability to keep momentum was absolutely crucial. And I'm trying to think if I know, and I'm with you. The image generation just doesn't have the capability right now to hold that thought in space and then to present the idea back to you. And honestly, presentations would be a game changer for.
Presentations are small on the scale, but I use that as an example because go plug into Midjourney and try to create like a process diagram.
No, and even going into ChatGPT or to GPT-4o or 4 Omni still has those challenges, even though like text generation seems to be a lot better, but it's taking a core idea and then outlining it and then being able to refine it. Holding those ideas in memory just hasn't really lifted past.
I'm most excited about, I think it would just help about the solo unicorn founder someday, all these tools. This is probably a march in that direction of just keeping that momentum going for founders to be able to keep everything in and keep moving.
You mentioned the solo unicorn founder.
It's just an idea that out with all the AI, how far could a single founder get without additional resources?
Look, I completely think that one day we're going to see a single founder that can generate $100 million in revenue, which would easily be $1 billion valuation company. Like, we're already at the point where you have single member teams that can develop or deliver 10 million. That's not a bar that's unachievable. the trend has definitely been going towards higher revenue, lower need for contributors in businesses in some cases. And I guess the curiosity that I have about this is either we're going to find somebody that builds like a killer app, and that's going to be the $1 billion valuation of a product. But you're also coming up with a good point of you could have a one-person startup that's either out there making presentations, they're a startup that is raising capital and getting that unicorn valuation, but they're both executing the operations using AI and also using AI to help them facilitate the fundraising process as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's probably some component of it in the operations because we know to run a $100 million company, you need some operations. So it's not like an individual is going to have enough waking hours to actually and handle that. So it has to be augmented through some sort of tooling.
Absolutely. What has been let's say, the downside of being someone at the forefront of using these applications in your business today?
A lot of failures, a lot of time wasted. It was probably big, to be honest. Yeah, a lot of time wasted. And I wouldn't even say wasted. You're just trying to figure out, is there there for this, or should I not trust the AI, right? And I said early on, when you're trying to use it for any kind of creative thinking or ideation, it wants to stay right down the middle. And how do you invest time in trying to get it out of the middle and to the edge or different ideas and push it out of its trained comfort zone? So I'd say really just a lot of time spent. I wrote an article here in Mach 49 about how taking, people take these personas I talked about early in this. And one of the things that I was running into challenges with is the agreeableness of AI. They really want to make anything agree with you because they realize they're probably it could make you happy with it. Well, that conflicts heavily with what I'm trying to do, which is push people into identifying challenges, pains. And so what I did is I created different personalities. Ultimately, the article I talked about was creating 8 consumers at a grocery store and 2 grocery store managers. A lot of what those 2 different types of stakeholders want are at odds with each other, right? So consumers want more product diversity, more prices, right? And so then you have them in a room and you're running basically a moderated session where I've got one grocery store manager who's heavily opinionated, one who's passive. I've got this consumer over here who's very health conscious. This one's cost conscious. And you're forcing effectively an argument, because to me, that is what's interesting to see, is what are they arguing on and who's standing up for it. Probably try to find an application that you're excited about to leverage AI. It doesn't have to be professional, but I think you'll just start to learn what works, or what's going to get you engaged in some of the prompt engineering that kind of really teaches you what works, how to push things, what's not working. But I think it's hard to do without an application that you're excited about. And so even I spent a lot of time playing around with AI and tools professionally. I was like, I need something fun on the side that I can just mess around with and have some fun with. So it's really hard interacting without again, it could be completely fun. It does not have to be work very hard, but you just need something that you're trying to avoid with so that you spend the time there. You can find me on LinkedIn, reach out.
Thank you for tuning into The Human Code, sponsored by Findustries, where we harness AI to elevate your business. By improving operational efficiency and accelerating growth, we turn opportunities into reality. Let Findustries be your guide to AI mastery, making success inevitable. Explore how at findustries.co.